Good evening, and welcome to this lecture on ancient Greek philosophy. Tonight, we will embark on a journey back in time, to an era when the thinkers of the Mediterranean laid the foundations of Western philosophy. Imagine yourself in ancient Athens, strolling through the agora, the heart of public life, where citizens gathered to discuss politics, philosophy, and the nature of existence. Close your eyes and picture the bustling streets filled with merchants, craftsmen, and scholars. Feel the warm sun on your skin and the gentle breeze carrying the scent of olive oil and fresh bread. You are about to meet some of the most influential minds of antiquity, thinkers whose ideas continue to shape our understanding of the world. Our story begins with Thales of Miletus, who lived around 624 BCE. Picture him walking along the rocky shores of the Aegean Sea, watching the waves crash against the coast. He observes how water is essential to all life, how it transforms from liquid into vapor and ice, and how it exists everywhere. For Thales, water seemed to be the fundamental substance at the root of all things. Imagine him sitting by the sea, lost in deep thought, before proclaiming his revolutionary idea: everything is from water. This marked a great shift, from mythological explanations to natural ones, laying the groundwork for future scientific inquiry. Our journey continues with Anaximander, a student of Thales who lived around 610 BCE. Imagine a group of curious students gathered around a man deeply absorbed in thought, sketching on a wax tablet beneath the shade of an olive tree. Unlike his teacher, who considered water the primary element, Anaximander proposed a more abstract and revolutionary concept: the existence of the apeiron, the infinite, boundless principle underlying all of reality. Unlike air, earth, or fire, which have beginnings and endings subject to change and decay, the apeiron is eternal and indestructible. This concept reached beyond the physical world, existing outside direct human experience. For Anaximander, the apeiron generated opposites: hot and cold, wet and dry, which in turn produced the countless phenomena we see in the world. Picture him mixing hot and cold water to show how such opposites interact, illustrating the generative power of the apeiron. He explained that it was also the source of movement and change, continuously giving rise to new worlds as old ones dissolved back into it. Imagine him pointing to the stars in the night sky, explaining that even heavenly bodies were part of this eternal cycle of birth, growth, decay, and renewal. His vision of a universe in constant transformation broke away from the traditional idea of a static, unchanging cosmos. Anaximander also introduced a moral dimension to the universe: cosmic justice. He taught that the elements pay penalty and retribution to one another. When fire consumes wood, eventually it must give way to water, which extinguishes it. This balance of forces maintained harmony in the cosmos, with the apeiron serving as the ultimate arbiter. Leaving Anaximander's courtyard, we carry with us a sense of wonder and a deeper appreciation for the boundless mysteries of the universe. Next, our path takes us to Anaximenes of Miletus, a student of Anaximander who lived around 580 BCE. Imagine walking through the lively streets of Miletus, the bright sun above, the air rich with the fragrance of herbs and spices. On a quiet grassy field outside the city, a small group of students gathers around a philosopher who gazes at the sky in contemplation. Like his predecessors, Anaximenes sought the underlying substance of all things. But while Thales chose water, and Anaximander posited the abstract apeiron, Anaximenes found his answer in air. Picture him lying on soft grass, watching clouds drift across the sky, feeling a gentle breeze on his face. From these simple experiences, he developed his bold idea: air, abundant and all-encompassing, is the fundamental principle of the universe. Air sustains life, both human and animal. It can take many forms: warm or cold, moist or dry. Imagine Anaximenes breathing onto his hand to feel the warmth, or blowing onto a flame to see how it responds. From such everyday observations, he concluded that through processes of condensation and rarefaction, air transforms into all other elements. Picture him explaining this with vivid examples. Air condenses into wind, then into clouds, into water, and eventually into earth and stone. His theory combined simplicity with elegance, offering a practical way to understand transformation in nature. But Anaximenes also saw air as more than physical matter. It was the breath of life, the soul. Just as air sustains the human body, he believed it sustains the entire universe. This gave his philosophy a sense of deep interconnectedness, a link between the microcosm of man and the macrocosm of the cosmos. Imagine him standing before his students, arms outstretched to embrace both the sky and the earth, teaching the unity of all things through the medium of air. At night, under a star-filled sky, he explained that the sun, moon, and stars were made of rarefied air that had ignited, bringing light and warmth to the world. This vision challenged the traditional view of the heavens as fixed and unchanging. Instead, he described a cosmos alive with transformation, moved and animated by air itself. From Anaximenes, we carry away a new appreciation for the air we breathe, not just as an invisible substance, but as the very life force that shapes and sustains the universe. His legacy reminds us that through careful observation and reflection, profound truth can be discovered in the simplest experiences. Now, our journey takes us to the island of Samos, around 570 BCE, where we encounter one of the most enigmatic figures of all, Pythagoras. Picture a quiet coastal village, where the gentle sound of waves caresses the shore. The town buzzes with rumors about a wise man who had traveled through Egypt and Babylon, gathering knowledge, and who now taught a unique blend of philosophy, mathematics, and mysticism. This man was Pythagoras, whose ideas would resonate through the centuries. Pythagoras was not just a philosopher, but the leader of a close-knit community, the Pythagoreans. Imagine a group of devoted followers, dressed in simple robes, gathered in a modest sanctuary. The air hums with sacred chants as they live by strict rules, a vegetarian diet, communal living, self-discipline, and deep reverence for harmony in the universe. At the heart of Pythagoras' philosophy was the belief that number is the fundamental essence of all things. Picture him at a chalkboard, stylus in hand, demonstrating how numbers and their ratios form the structure of the cosmos. He introduced his students to the concept of numerical relationships, explaining harmonious proportions found in nature, music, and the heavens. Imagine the awe on their faces as he showed how intervals in the musical scale correspond to simple numerical ratios, unveiling the hidden harmony of the world. For Pythagoras and his followers, numbers also carried mystical significance. 1 represented unity and the beginning of all things. 2 symbolized duality and balance. 3, the perfect number, represented harmony and synthesis. Picture the Pythagoreans meditating before a triangular altar, contemplating the symbolism of the number 3 embodied in the shape of a triangle. Of course, one of Pythagoras' most famous contributions is the Pythagorean theorem. In a right triangle, the square of the hypotenuse equals the sum of the squares of the other 2 sides. Picture him demonstrating this on a sand table, carefully drawing precise geometric shapes, revealing a principle that applied not just to triangles, but to the very fabric of the universe. Beyond mathematics, Pythagoras and his followers were deeply concerned with the nature of the soul and its journey through reincarnation. They believed the soul was immortal, passing through cycles of rebirth, striving for purification and ultimate union with the divine. Picture Pythagoras sitting with his students around a crackling fire, recounting stories of past lives and lessons learned, inspiring them to live virtuously in order to free themselves from the cycle of rebirth. The Pythagorean community was secretive, guided by rituals, initiations, and strict codes of conduct. Imagine the reverence of a novice about to be initiated, studying sacred symbols and chants before being admitted into the inner circle, where deeper truths were revealed. Through Pythagoras' teachings, his followers began to see the universe as a harmonious, interconnected whole, governed by the principles of mathematics and divine order. They were inspired to seek knowledge, live ethically, and strive for spiritual purity, believing that through understanding the cosmos, one could reach a higher state of being. Leaving the Pythagorean sanctuary, we carry with us a sense of awe before the intricate harmony of the universe. The legacy of Pythagoras reminds us that the pursuit of knowledge and the search for spiritual enlightenment are deeply intertwined, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Ideas are as mysterious as they are profound. Picture yourself wandering through the lively markets of Ephesus. The air is filled with the aroma of spices and the chatter of merchants. Yet, away from the noise, in a quiet corner of a temple, we find a solitary figure. This is Heraclitus, often called the weeping philosopher by his contemporaries, known for his melancholic nature and his belief in life's impermanence. Heraclitus is the philosopher who sees the world through the lens of constant change and eternal flow. Imagine him walking along the banks of the river Cayster, watching the water rush endlessly by, never the same from one moment to the next. It is here that he formulates his famous doctrine of change, captured in the phrase panta rhei. Everything flows. Speaking to his followers, he declares, "You cannot step into the same river twice, for new waters are forever flowing around you." To Heraclitus, change is not an accident, but the very essence of the universe. Reality, he insists, is not a collection of static objects, but a dynamic process where everything is in motion. Imagine him seated with his students beneath the shade of trees. He explains that just as fire consumes and transforms wood, so too the universe renews itself through cycles of birth, growth, decay, and rebirth. At the heart of his philosophy lies the concept of the logos, a fundamental principle of order and reason that governs change. Despite the seeming chaos of existence, the logos ensures that the cosmos remains rational and structured. It is the invisible thread weaving together the fabric of reality, maintaining balance and harmony in the flow. Heraclitus' philosophy extends to the human realm. He teaches that conflict and tension are not obstacles, but essential forces that drive growth. To illustrate, he points to the bow and the lyre. The harmony of each depends on the tension between opposing parts, the string and the frame, the cord and the body. Without struggle, there is no progress. Without opposition, no development. Heraclitus is also remembered for his doctrine of the unity of opposites. What appears contradictory is, in truth, interconnected. He speaks of day and night, life and death, pleasure and pain, each defining and giving meaning to the other. To grasp this unity, he insists, is to glimpse the true nature of reality. His followers, gathered around him, are captivated. One student, watching a butterfly emerge from its cocoon, marvels at the transformation, realizing the infinite possibilities of change. Heraclitus' doctrine challenges his disciples to embrace impermanence and to find wisdom in the ever-changing nature of existence. Knowledge, he teaches, does not come from rigid dogmas or static beliefs, but from a deep awareness of life's fluid and transient reality. His philosophy is a call to awaken to the present moment and recognize the logos at the heart of the eternal flow of life. As we leave Heraclitus by the river, we carry with us a profound gratitude for the dynamic and ever-changing world we inhabit. His legacy reminds us that change is not to be feared, but embraced, for within the flow of existence lies truth itself. In sharp contrast, we now meet Parmenides of Elea, whose ideas stand firmly against Heraclitus' doctrine of flux. Our journey takes us to the city of Elea in southern Italy, around 500 BCE. Picture a quiet coastal town, surrounded by olive groves and vineyards. In a serene courtyard, shaded by columns and blossoming plants, a circle of students gathers around a wise and dignified man. This is Parmenides, prepared to challenge everything we think we know about reality. Parmenides declares that change is an illusion. True reality, he insists, is unchanging, eternal, and one. His voice is steady as he delivers his radical message. The senses deceive us into believing the world is in constant motion, but reason reveals a deeper truth. He introduces his students to the concept of being unchanging, eternal, and indivisible. Imagine him drawing a perfect circle in the sand to illustrate unity and wholeness. Being, like the circle, cannot be broken or altered. To clarify, He asks a profound question. Can something come from nothing? His answer is clear. No. Nothingness cannot give rise to anything. Therefore, if change means passing from non-being into being, or from being into non-being, it must be impossible. Being simply is, and non-being cannot exist. From this reasoning, Parmenides concludes that the world of change and multiplicity is mere appearance. Picture him guiding his students through a bustling market in Elea. They see movement, trade, the passing of time, but Parmenides insists it is all illusion. Beneath the surface lies the only true reality, the single, unchanging, eternal being. One of Parmenides' most famous works is his poem describing a mystical journey into the realm of truth. Imagine him reciting verses to his students, recounting how a goddess revealed two paths. The path of truth, aletheia, guided by reason, which leads to eternal being, and the path of opinion, doxa, guided by the senses, which traps us in illusions of change. His teachings deeply shape his students and generations of philosophers after him. They learn to doubt the reliability of sensory experience and to seek knowledge through reason. Imagine a student, inspired by Parmenides, sitting by the sea, reflecting on reality, striving to see beyond appearances into eternal truth. Parmenides' philosophy lays the foundation for metaphysical debates that will shape Western thought. His bold claim that being is unchanging and indivisible forces philosophers to reconcile the clash between sensory experience and rational insight. Think of Zeno of Elea, creating paradoxes to defend Parmenides' vision and pushing philosophy into new territories. Leaving Parmenides and his circle in the peaceful courtyard of Elea, we carry with us a sense of wonder and curiosity. His legacy reminds us that beneath the shifting surface of life lies a deeper, eternal reality, accessible only through the power of reason. Our journey now takes us to the island of Sicily, around 450 BCE, where we meet Empedocles of Acragas, a philosopher, poet, and mystic. Picture yourself standing on a cliff overlooking the azure waters of the Mediterranean. The warm breeze carries the scent of wild herbs and flowers. Here, in this landscape of natural beauty, Empedocles develops his grand theory of the four elements. Charismatic and multifaceted, Empedocles teaches that all matter is composed of earth, water, air, and fire. Imagine him in flowing robes, addressing a crowd in an open-air amphitheater. He lifts a handful of soil, lets it slip through his fingers, points to the waves, the sky, and the blazing sun. Each element, he explains, has its own qualities. Earth is solid and stable, water fluid and life-giving, air light and essential, fire transformative and powerful. But his theory goes beyond description. Empedocles introduces two cosmic forces, love and strife. Picture him tracing a circle in the earth, dividing it into four parts for the elements. With his hands, he shows how love unites the elements into complex forms, while strife pulls them apart. The universe, he teaches, is an eternal dance of harmony and conflict. He captivates his audience with vivid imagery: mountains rising, rivers flowing, plants growing, animals living, all shaped by the interplay of these forces. For Empedocles, this vision also applies to human life. The body and soul, he says, are made of the same four elements, and health depends on their balance. Picture him guiding his followers toward harmony through diet, exercise, and meditation, urging them to align themselves with nature. Yet, Empedocles is more than a philosopher. He is also a mystic. Imagine him performing rituals in a sacred grove, invoking the elements and divine powers that govern them. He even claims abilities such as healing the sick and influencing the weather powers, he insists, born from his deep understanding of the elements. His great poem on nature presents his cosmology and the eternal cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, driven by love and strife. Picture him reciting verses to a spellbound audience, his poetic imagery breathing life into his cosmic vision. Even his death became legend. According to tradition, Empedocles, convinced of his divine nature, sought to prove his immortality by leaping into the fiery crater of Mount Etna. Imagine the dramatic scene. Standing on the edge of the volcano, robes billowing, He proclaims his divinity before leaping into the flames. The volcano returned only his bronze sandal symbols of the mystery he left behind. Thus, the life and death of Empedocles became inseparable from myth. His legacy is that of a philosopher, poet, and visionary, whose thought and legend continue to inspire awe. Now, ancient Greek philosophy takes us to the Ionian coast, where we encounter Anaxagoras, the philosopher who introduced a revolutionary concept that forever changed our understanding of the universe: nous, the cosmic mind. Imagine bustling Athens around 450 BCE, where Anaxagoras arrives from his native Asia Minor. Athens is a city brimming with intellectual energy, where philosophers, poets, and statesmen gather to discuss the nature of reality and the mysteries of existence. Anaxagoras quickly becomes a prominent figure in these circles, known for his deep insights and innovative ideas. He proposed that everything in the universe is composed of infinitely small particles, which he called seeds, or homeomeres. In lively debates at the Agora, he explained how these seeds combine endlessly to form the diverse objects and living beings we see around us. But what truly sets Anaxagoras apart is his introduction of nous, the mind, a principle that governs and organizes the seeds. Nous is not a physical substance, but an intellectual force that sets everything in motion and ensures the order of the cosmos. Picture Anaxagoras using the analogy of a potter shaping clay to illustrate how nous brings order to chaos. He insisted, the universe is not the product of chance, but the result of rational design. For Anaxagoras, nous is pure, eternal, and infinite. It is the finest and most powerful of all principles, possessing complete knowledge and control over the cosmos. He described it as a kind of divine intellect, shaping the universe like a master carefully crafting a masterpiece. This concept introduced, for the first time, the idea of purposeful order into philosophy. According to Anaxagoras, it is nous that initiates cosmic rotation, a vast whirl that separates and organizes the seeds into the familiar elements: earth, water, air, and fire. Imagine him pointing to the sky, explaining how nous set the stars, the sun, and the moon on their orbits, and how it governs the cycles of nature, from the changing seasons to the growth of plants and the lives of creatures. His teaching also extended to the human mind. Anaxagoras believed that our intellect and soul are fragments of the cosmic nous, which gives us the ability to understand and explore the world. Imagine him debating other philosophers, arguing that human thought and perception are reflections of the universal mind within us. Anaxagoras' ideas were controversial. He claimed that the sun was a fiery rock, not a god, and that the moon was made of earth. These statements challenged traditional religious beliefs. Athenians reacted differently. Some admired his rational explanations, while others denounced them as impious. Despite criticism, Anaxagoras' influence was profound, especially on his friend and student Pericles, who supported and defended him. His concept of nous also shaped the thought of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, adding a new dimension to Greek philosophy by uniting the physical and the metaphysical. From here we move to the lively city of Abdera, the birthplace of one of antiquity's most influential thinkers, Democritus. Born around 460 BCE, he is best known for developing the atomic theory, an idea that still resonates in modern science. Imagine walking through the streets of Abdera and meeting a man with sparkling eyes and tireless curiosity. This is Democritus, known as the laughing philosopher, for his cheerful spirit and love of life. He believed that understanding the universe brings not only knowledge, but also joy. Building on the work of his teacher Leucippus, Democritus formulated the theory that everything in the universe consists of indivisible particles, atoms. Picture him in a debate with fellow philosophers, comparing atoms to invisible building blocks that make up everything, from the stars in the sky to the air we breathe, and even our own bodies. According to him, atoms are eternal, unchanging, and infinite in number. They move through the void, joining and separating in countless ways to create the variety of the world. Democritus explained this with the analogy of a kaleidoscope. A few simple shapes produce endless patterns depending on their arrangement. A striking feature of Democritus's atomism is its mechanistic character. He explained all phenomena, even sensations and emotions, as interactions of atoms. Sweetness, he said, comes from smooth, round atoms, while bitterness arises from sharp, jagged ones. He also studied the nature of the soul, which he believed consisted of especially fine, smooth atoms. These atoms, he argued, are responsible for thought, perception, and life itself. At death, they disperse and merge back into the universal flow of atoms. This conviction reinforced his belief that fear of death is unfounded. Democritus's philosophy extended to ethics. The highest goal of life, he taught, is happiness, understood as a state of tranquility and contentment. Happiness is achieved through moderation, wisdom, and knowledge of the true nature of things. Despite the revolutionary character of his ideas, Democritus was not widely recognized during his lifetime. But the seeds of his thought would flourish later, deeply influencing both science and philosophy. His atomic theory laid the groundwork for our modern understanding of the physical world, demonstrating the power of rational inquiry and the pursuit of knowledge. Now, picture yourself walking through the bustling streets of ancient Athens. The air is filled with the cries of merchants, the laughter of children, and the hum of conversations. The agora, the heart of Athenian public life, is alive with activity. Among the crowd, you notice a man who stands out, not by his appearance, but by his manner. He is an older man, stout, bald, with eyes that seem to see straight through you. This is Socrates, one of the most influential philosophers of all time, and he is doing what he does best, asking questions. Socrates was born around 470 BCE, during the height of Athens' cultural and political power. His father was a stonemason, his mother a midwife. From his father, he likely inherited the value of hard work and craftsmanship. From his mother, perhaps, the idea of helping others give birth, not to children, but to ideas and truths. Despite his humble origins, Socrates was destined to leave a profound mark on philosophy. Imagine him in the agora, engaging not only ordinary Athenians, but also the sophists, professional teachers of the day. Unlike them, Socrates charged no money. He saw himself as an intellectual midwife, helping others give birth to their own ideas. His method was simple, yet remarkably powerful. He asked questions. This approach, now known as the Socratic method, involved a series of probing inquiries that pushed his interlocutors to examine their beliefs more carefully. Step by step, contradictions would emerge, and deeper truths would come to light. Picture a scene. A prominent politician, surrounded by admirers, confidently explains his views. Socrates approaches and begins to ask questions. At first, the politician answers with ease, but as the questions dig deeper, his certainty crumbles. What is justice? What is virtue? Soon, it becomes clear that the man does not understand these concepts as well as he thought. This process could be disconcerting, even humiliating. Socrates earned the nickname the gadfly of Athens, because like a gadfly that stings a horse to keep it moving, he stung his fellow citizens out of their complacency. He believed that such questioning was essential for a virtuous and meaningful life. The unexamined life is not worth living, he famously declared. Yet not everyone appreciated his relentless inquiries. While many young Athenians admired him, others, especially powerful figures, found him irritating and dangerous. His method of exposing ignorance was not just an intellectual exercise. It was a direct challenge to authority and tradition. Tensions reached their peak in 399 BCE, when Socrates was put on trial for impiety and corrupting the youth. Imagine the scene. The crowded Athenian court, his accusers representing conservative elements of society, warning that Socrates undermined the gods and misled the young with radical ideas. At his trial, Socrates remained steadfast and unrepentant. Instead of begging for mercy, he used the moment to continue teaching, declaring that his mission was divinely ordained, a duty to encourage moral and intellectual growth. He argued that he was not corrupting the youth, but inspiring them to think critically and seek truth. His defense was eloquent, but it did not sway the jury. Socrates was found guilty and sentenced to death by drinking a cup of hemlock. Even in his final moments, Socrates remained true to his principles, leaving behind a legacy that would inspire Plato, Aristotle, and generations of thinkers to come. Imagine the scene. A prison cell. Friends and students of Socrates gather around, begging him to escape. But he refuses. For him, fleeing would mean betraying his principles and breaking the laws of Athens, which he had always respected. As Socrates raises the cup of poison to his lips, he continues speaking with his companions. His words turn to the immortality of the soul and the nature of death. Even as the poison begins to take hold, he remains calm and composed. The room is filled with a heavy but reverent silence. And then comes Socrates' final breath. His death stands as the deepest testimony to his loyalty to his convictions and his unwavering pursuit of truth. The legacy of Socrates lives not through his own writings. He left none but through his ideas and the profound influence he had on his students. Plato, his most famous disciple, immortalized Socratic thought in dialogues that preserved his teacher's voice for future generations. Aristotle, Plato's pupil, carried these ideas even further, laying the foundations of Western philosophy. Reflecting on the life and death of Socrates, we see a man wholly devoted to the pursuit of wisdom, willing to challenge convention, and steadfast in his principles even in the face of death. His story is a powerful reminder of the importance of critical thinking and the courage to question accepted norms. Now picture another scene. You are once again seated in the Athenian agora among a circle of attentive listeners. Socrates begins a dialogue. His philosophy is not a lecture, but a conversation. His method dialectical, now known as the Socratic method, was not simply a teaching technique, but a profound approach to understanding the world and ourselves. Socrates believed that wisdom begins in wonder. He posed questions, seemingly simple, yet leading to the deepest reflections. What is justice? He might ask a young Athenian. The answer would come confidently, but Socrates would press further, revealing contradictions and flaws in the reasoning. Through this process, he guided others towards self-knowledge and a clearer grasp of fundamental ideas such as virtue, justice, and the good life. He never handed down ready-made answers. Instead, he taught the necessity of recognizing one's own ignorance, believing this was the very first step toward wisdom. Hence his famous paradox, "I know that I know nothing." At the heart of his teaching lay ethics. Unlike the sophists, who claimed morality was relative, Socrates insisted that virtue was the greatest possession, far more valuable than wealth, fame, or power. For him, a virtuous life was the very definition of a good and happy life. And the path to virtue lay in self-knowledge. His enduring maxim, "Know thyself," was both a challenge and a promise. Socrates believed in the immortality of the soul. He saw the soul as the true essence of a person, more important than the body. To care for the soul through virtue, he argued, was the ultimate purpose of human existence. He declared that knowledge is virtue. If one truly understands what is good, one will naturally act rightly. Evil, Socrates claimed, arises not from malice, but from ignorance. His teaching profoundly shaped his disciples. In Plato's dialogues, Socrates remains the central figure, the living voice of philosophical inquiry. Through Plato, and later Aristotle, his ideas became the very foundation of Western thought. The legacy of Socrates is a relentless search for truth. His life and death remind us that questioning, reflection, humility, and self-examination are the path to wisdom. His example continues to challenge and inspire us today, inviting each of us to ask questions, to reflect, and to seek a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us. In ancient Athens, walking through the bustling streets full of merchants, craftsmen, and philosophers engaged in lively debates, one figure stands out with a remarkable combination of intellectual rigor and innovative ideas: Plato. A student of Socrates and teacher of Aristotle, Plato had a profound and lasting influence on Western thought. In this study, we will explore Plato's life, philosophy, and enduring legacy, often referring to him as the philosopher king. Early life and education. Plato was born around 427 BCE into an aristocratic family in Athens. His birth name was Aristocles, but he later acquired the nickname Plato, possibly referring to his broad shoulders. Growing up during the turbulent Peloponnesian War, Plato personally experienced the political instability and social upheaval that plagued Athens. From a young age, he was immersed in a rich cultural environment, receiving an education that included poetry, music, and gymnastics, standard for Athenian boys of his status. However, his intellectual aspirations truly flourished after meeting Socrates. Under Socrates' guidance, Plato developed a deep interest in philosophy, particularly in ethics, politics, and the nature of knowledge. Socrates' method of questioning and his commitment to seeking the truth deeply influenced Plato. When Socrates was executed in 399 BCE, Plato was devastated. This event left an indelible mark on him. It inspired him to write about his mentor and strengthened his skepticism toward democracy, which he held responsible for Socrates' death. This skepticism later shaped his political philosophy. The Academy returning to Athens around 387 BCE, Plato founded the Academy, one of the first higher education institutions in the Western world. Located in a grove dedicated to the hero Academos, the Academy attracted students from across the Greek world and served as a center for philosophical research and education for nearly 9 centuries, influencing countless generations of thinkers. At the Academy, Plato taught a wide range of subjects, including philosophy, mathematics, and astronomy. His teaching method included dialogues reminiscent of Socratic discussions and intensive debates. The Academy became a hub of intellectual inquiry, laying the foundation for many of Plato's philosophical works. Theory of Forms 1. Of Plato's most significant contributions to philosophy is his theory of forms. According to this theory, the material world we perceive through the senses is only a shadow of a higher, unchanging reality. This higher reality consists of abstract entities called forms or ideas, which are perfect and eternal. For example, any physical circle we draw will be imperfect, but the form of the circle is the perfect abstract entity existing outside time and space. The same applies to concepts like justice, beauty, and virtue. Plato argued that true knowledge does not come from sensory experience, but from intellectual insight into these forms. This idea is vividly illustrated in his allegory of the cave, found in the Republic. In the allegory, prisoners in a cave mistake shadows on the wall for reality. Only by leaving the cave and seeing the external world can they understand the true forms. Philosopher King. In the Republic, Plato develops his vision of an ideal society ruled by philosopher kings. Only those with deep understanding of the forms and love for wisdom are fit to govern. These philosopher kings can create a just and harmonious society. Plato's ideal state is structured into 3 classes: rulers, philosophers, warriors, and producers, farmers, craftsmen, and merchants, each with their own role and virtues contributing to the overall harmony of the state. Rulers are guided by wisdom, warriors by courage, and producers by moderation. Plato believed philosopher kings would be reluctant to rule, preferring a contemplative life, yet their sense of duty and commitment to the common good compel them to govern. This concept reflects Plato's belief in the inseparability of knowledge and virtue, and the idea that true leaders are motivated by a desire to serve rather than personal ambition. Allegory of the Cave. The allegory of the cave is one of Plato's most powerful metaphors, illustrating his epistemological and metaphysical views. Prisoners are chained in a dark cave, facing a blank wall. Behind them, puppeteers cast shadows on the wall, which the prisoners perceive as reality. One prisoner escapes, eventually encountering the true source of the shadows, the sun, symbolizing knowledge. This journey represents the philosopher's ascent from ignorance to understanding. Returning to the cave to free the others, the enlightened prisoner faces distrust and hostility. The allegory highlights the challenges of philosophical enlightenment and the resistance encountered by those who question accepted beliefs. It also demonstrates the transformative power of philosophy. Dialogues and philosophical system. Plato's ideas are conveyed through his dialogues, which presents Socratic discussions on a variety of topics. Some of his most famous works include The Republic, a comprehensive study of justice, the ideal state, and the philosopher king; Symposium, a series of speeches on the nature of love; Meno, explores the nature of virtue and whether it can be taught; Phaedo, describes Socrates' final hours and his arguments for the immortality of the soul. Through these dialogues, Plato not only preserves Socrates' teachings, but also develops his own philosophical system. Influence and legacy. Plato's influence extends far beyond his time, shaping Western philosophy, science, and political thought. His student Aristotle developed and sometimes challenged Plato's ideas, creating a comprehensive philosophical system that dominated medieval scholasticism. The academy continued to flourish long after Plato's death, serving as a model for later educational institutions. During the Renaissance, Plato's works experienced a revival. His dedication to the pursuit of truth, the value of education, and the importance of self-knowledge continue to inspire those seeking to understand and improve the world. Plato offers a timeless vision of a just and enlightened society, guided by wisdom and virtue. His profound ideas on reality, knowledge, and ethics encourage us to look beyond the superficial and strive for deeper understanding. Reflecting on Plato's life and teachings, we recognize the enduring power of philosophy to illuminate our minds and transform our lives. Imagine the vibrant city of Athens, alive with the hum of daily life, bustling markets, and streets filled with thinkers and craftsmen. Amidst this intellectual and cultural whirlwind, a young man named Aristotle began a journey that would leave a lasting mark on history. Born in the small town of Stagira, he would grow to become one of the most influential minds in Western thought. His curiosity spanned philosophy, science, and countless other fields, earning him the title of polymath. Aristotle's early life was steeped in medicine. His father, Nicomachus, served as the personal physician to King Amyntas III of Macedon. This early exposure to biology and the workings of life would shape Aristotle's fascination with the natural world. At 17, he left home for Athens to study at Plato's academy. Under Plato's guidance, Aristotle immersed himself in learning for 2 decades. Though their philosophical views would eventually diverge, Plato recognized his brilliance, calling him the mind of the school. After Plato's death, Aristotle traveled widely. He spent time in Assos in Asia Minor, where he pursued both scientific inquiry and philosophical reflection. He married Pythias, niece of the local ruler Hermias, embedding himself further in the intellectual and political life of the region. Later, he went to the court of Philip II of Macedon, tasked with tutoring the young Alexander, a responsibility that would influence the future conqueror's approach to leadership and governance. In 335 BCE, Aristotle returned to Athens and founded his own school, the Lyceum. Unlike Plato's academy, the Lyceum emphasized observation and hands-on research. Aristotle and his students, known as the Peripatetics, would stroll through the covered walkways, debating and exchanging ideas. He catalogued, observed, and reasoned, laying the groundwork for modern scientific thought. Aristotle's thinking explored the essence of existence and the natural world. He introduced the idea of substance, the core of what makes something what it is, and the concept of the unmoved mover, the ultimate cause of all motion in the universe, eternal and perfect. He taught that a good life, one in which a person truly flourishes, comes from cultivating virtues, habits of thought and action that shape character. Courage, moderation, wisdom, virtues exist as a balance between extremes, a golden mean. Living well means striving for this balance in all aspects of life. Aristotle extended these principles to society. He saw the state as a community designed to help its citizens live well. Different forms of government, monarchy, aristocracy, democracy, each had their strengths and weaknesses. Aristotle envisioned a balanced system that combined their best qualities, creating a society where people could flourish together. He also shaped the way we reason and think. Through his study of logic, he developed methods to reason clearly, deduce conclusions, and structure arguments. In science, he observed animals, classified them, and explored the natural world with unmatched curiosity. In physics, he considered motion, change, and cause, seeking to understand why things move and exist as they do. In astronomy, he imagined a universe ordered and harmonious, with Earth at its center, a vision that would guide thought for centuries. After Alexander's death, the Hellenistic world expanded, bringing new challenges and ideas. Philosophical schools arose to guide people through uncertain times. Stoicism taught inner calm and virtue in harmony with nature. Epicureanism valued simple pleasures and the absence of pain, and skepticism found peace in questioning certainty and suspending judgment. Through all these explorations, Aristotle and the Hellenistic philosophers left an enduring legacy. Their reflections on life, happiness, virtue, and reason continue to resonate. They remind us that even in a chaotic world, wisdom, understanding, and thoughtful living remain timeless pursuits.